The fluorescent light in the cramped locker room buzzed like a swarm of angry hornets, casting harsh shadows across the sweat-soaked tiles. I yanked off my jersey, my heart pounding from the game we just lost. Another brutal defeat that tasted like ash in my mouth. And there he was, Xavier, leaning against the lockers with that quiet intensity of his. His eyes locked on me as if the world had narrowed to just this moment. Just us. I was changing in front of him, and surprisingly, he didn't look away, and everything shifted. It wasn't like the other times, when we'd all stripped down in this steamy hellhole after practice, laughing off the bruises and the coach's screams, pretending we were invincible 22-year-olds chasing glory on the gridiron at Northwestern. No, this was different. His gaze wasn't the casual flick of a teammate's. It lingered, heavy and electric, tracing the lines of my shoulders, the curve of my ribs still heaving from exertion. I froze, towel halfway to my waist, the air thick with the scent of Benghazi and unspoken secrets. In that split second, the roar of the stadium outside faded to a distant hum, and I swear I could hear my own pulse thundering like a freight train through the empty Midwest night. "Alex," he said, his voice low, almost a whisper, but it sliced through the silence like a knife. Xavier Hale, the golden boy of the Wildcats defense, the guy who'd transferred from UCLA with a scholarship and a reputation for sacking quarterbacks like they were paper dolls. We'd been roommates since freshman year, thrown together in a shoebox dorm on the Evanston campus, bonding over late-night study sessions and stolen beers from the corner store. But now he was looking at me like I was the only play he couldn't read, the one that could change the whole damn game. I swallowed hard, forcing a grin that felt like cracking glass. "What? Got a problem with my form, Hale?" My words came out sharper than I intended, laced with that defensive edge I'd honed growing up in the Rust Belt grit of Gary, Indiana, where vulnerability was a luxury you couldn't afford. Dad's mill job had vanished when I was 12, mom waitress doubles to keep the lights on, and football? That was my ticket out, my armor against a world that chewed up dreams and spat out regrets. He pushed off the lockers, closing the distance in 2 strides, his cleats squeaking on the wet floor. Up close, I could see the flecks of gold in his hazel eyes, the faint scar above his lip from a high school brawl he never talked about. "Nah, man. No problem." His hand brushed my arm. Accidental, or so I told myself, and it was like static shock jolting straight to my core. You played like hell out there. Saved my ass on that blitz." The compliment hung between us, warm and unexpected, but his eyes said more. They always did. Xavier had this way of seeing through the bullshit, the performative straight guy banter we all clung to like life rafts. In a team full of alpha dogs barking about girls and glory, he was the quiet storm, the one who quoted poetry in the margins of his playbook, Neruda of all things, and sketched charcoal portraits of the Chicago skyline during road trips. I'd caught him staring before, in the glow of our desk lamp at 2 a.m., but I'd always chalked it up to exhaustion, to the haze of shared spaces. Not this time. This time, as I pulled on my jeans, the zipper's rasp echoing too loud, I felt exposed in a way that had nothing to do with nakedness. My skin prickled, awareness blooming like a bruise. Was this what they'd whispered about in the halls back home? The fairy jabs from the locker room bullies who'd cornered me after gym class because I preferred books to brawls? I'd buried that deep under layers of muscle and Midwestern stoicism. But Xavier, he was unearthing it without even trying. "Earth to Alex," he teased, snapping his fingers inches from my face. His smile was crooked, disarming, the kind that made the knot in my chest loosen just a fraction. "You zoning out on me? Or is that loss hitting harder than Ramirez's tackle?" I laughed, a real one this time, shoving his shoulder, brotherly safe. "Screw you, Hale. Next game's mine." But as we grabbed our bags and headed out into the biting November wind off Lake Michigan, his arms slung casual around my neck like it had 100 times before, I couldn't shake the shift. The world tilted, colors sharper. The distant L train's rumble syncing with the wild beat of my heart. Evanston's tree-lined streets, strung with early holiday lights, felt alive, conspiratorial, as if the city itself was in on some secret I was only just beginning to glimpse. That night, back in our off-campus apartment, A creaky walk-up in Rogers Park with peeling wallpaper and a view of the L tracks. We cracked open a six-pack of Goose Island and sprawled on the sagging couch, replaying the game on his laptop. The room smelled of microwave pizza and the faint citrus of his cologne, a scent that had started to haunt my dreams. Malachi showed up around 11, as he always did, kicking the door open with his boot like he owned the place. Malachi Reyes, our mutual best friend since orientation week, the firecracker from the Bronx who'd majored in sociology because football's just a side hustle for dismantling the patriarchy. He was all sharp edges and sharper wit, with skin like burnished copper and eyes that missed nothing. "Yo, losers!" he bellowed, dumping a bag of tacos from the truck on Devon Avenue onto the coffee table. Grease spots bloomed on the napkins as he flopped down between us, his thigh pressing against mine in the cramped space. "Heard you two got your asses handed to you by Michigan. What? Did the Wolverines eat your jockstraps for breakfast?" Xavier snorted, tossing a balled-up sock at him. "Jealous much, Reyes? Sit this one out next time if you can't handle the heat." Malachi caught the sock midair, his grin feral. "Heat? Please. I was born in a subway car during a blackout. You corn-fed boys wouldn't last a day in my hood." He turned to me then, those dark eyes narrowing playfully. "And you, Rivera, don't think I didn't see that stiff arm on the highlight reel. Poetry in motion, mi hermano." I rolled my eyes, but warmth spread through me. Malachi had been the first to call me out on my macho bullshit, as he put it, during pledge week for the Lading Student Union. He dragged me to poetry slams in Wicker Park, where queer voices filled the air like smoke, challenging everything I'd thought I knew about myself. We'd shared secrets over empanadas at 3 a.m., him confessing his own tangled heart, crushes on straight boys, the ache of family expectations back home. But with Xavier, it was different. Malachi's energy crackled around him like fireworks, always one spark away from explosion. As the night wore on, the beer loosened tongues, and stories spilled out like confessions. Xavier recounted a beach bonfire from his California days, the waves crashing as a group of us, imaginary perfect, sang off-key to the Killers. Malachi countered with tales of Bronx block parties, merengue thumping till dawn, bodies moving in the summer haze. I listened, caught in the crossfire of their charisma, my own voice quieter, laced with the flat vowels of the heartland. But every time Xavier's knee bumped mine, or Malachi's laugh pulled me in, that earlier moment in the locker room echoed, a fault line cracking open. By midnight, Malachi had crashed on the armchair, snoring softly, his face slack in sleep, a rare vulnerability for the guy who armored himself in sarcasm. Xavier and I cleaned up in silence, the clink of bottles into the trash the only sound. At the sink, our hands brushed under the faucet, suds foaming between fingers. He didn't pull away. Neither did I. "You ever think about after this?" he murmured, drying a plate with deliberate slowness. "Graduation. The real world. No more purple jerseys to hide behind." I leaned against the counter, the edge biting into my palms. "All the time. NFL scout calls me? Great. Bartending in some dive? Fine. Just not going back to Gary. Not to that house with the leaky roof and Dad's ghost stories about making it." My voice cracked on the last word, and I hated it, the raw edge slipping through. Xavier set the plate down, turning to face me fully. The kitchen light haloed his hair, turning it to burnished copper. "You're gonna make it, Alex. You're the strongest guy I know." His hand found my shoulder, thumb tracing the ridge of my collarbone. "Innocent or not. And hey, wherever it is, I'll be there. Roomie for life, right?" The words hung, heavy with promise. I nodded, throat tight, and for a heartbeat, I imagined it. Us, in some sun-drenched apartment in LA or a brownstone in Brooklyn, building something real amid the chaos. But then Malachi stirred in the living room, mumbling in his sleep, and reality snapped back. This was college, a bubble of borrowed time. Secrets like ours, whatever this was, didn't survive the pop. Little did I know, the real storm was brewing just beyond the horizon, one that would test every fragile thread between us. The weeks blurred into a rhythm of frost-kissed practices and caffeine-fueled all-nighters, the Chicago winter clamping down like a vice. Lake Michigan froze at the edges, a jagged mirror reflecting the skeletal oaks lining Sheridan Road. Our apartment became a sanctuary, a pressure cooker of proximity where boundaries frayed like old laces. Xavier and I fell into an unspoken routine. Morning runs along the lakefront, breath fogging in the dawn chill. Evenings dissecting game film on the couch, his commentary sharp and insightful, mine laced with half-formed questions about his sketches, the ones of anonymous figures lost in urban fog, their faces blurred but yearning. Malachi orbited us like a satellite, pulling us into his whirlwind. Protests on campus against the latest ICE raids, spoken-word nights at the Green Mill where his verses about queer brown boys in concrete jungles left the room breathless. "This is America, cabrons," he'd say, mic in hand, sweat gleaming on his brow. "Land of the free, but only if you fit the script." His words hit home, stirring the sediment in my soul, the part of me that had always felt like an outsider in my own skin. Too sensitive for Gary's steel-hearted stoics, too guarded for the open-hearted dreamers like him. One Friday in early December, after a grueling scrimmage that left us black and blue, Xavier suggested a road trip. "Escape the tundra," he said, tossing me the keys to his beat-up Jeep Cherokee. "Hit the dunes in Indiana. Sand, stars, no cell service. Just us." His eyes held that challenge, the one that dared me to lean in. The word lodged in my chest like a splinter. Malachi, predictably, invited himself. "What, you two lovebirds planning a bromance getaway without the spice?" He joked, but there was an undercurrent, a flicker of something sharper in his gaze. We'd all three piled into the Jeep that afternoon, windows down despite the bite, blasting Springsteen as we crossed the state line. The Skyway's toll booths loomed like sentinels, the sprawl of Gary unfolding below. A graveyard of factories, my past etched in rust and regret. "Home sweet hell," I muttered, gripping the wheel tighter. Billboards hawked lottery dreams and Jesus saves, the same ones that had mocked me as a kid pedaling my bike past shuttered plants. Malachi leaned forward from the back, chin on the seat between us. "Nah, Alex, that's just the scar tissue. Beneath it, pure gold. Like you." His hand squeezed my shoulder, warm and steady, a lifeline tossed into turbulent waters. Xavier shot him a glance in the rearview, something unreadable passing between them. Camaraderie or competition? "Reyes is right. You're the heart of this crew, man. Without you, we'd be lost." The dunes rose like ancient guardians at Indiana Dunes National Park, golden waves against the slate-gray sky. We hiked the trails, boots crunching through brittle marram grass, the lake's vastness swallowing our shouts. At the summit of Mount Baldy, wind-whipped and exhilarated, Malachi pulled out a thermos of spiked hot chocolate, passing it around like contraband. "To surviving the freeze," he toasted, his voice carrying over the howl. As dusk bled into night, we built a fire in a sheltered hollow, flames dancing shadows across their faces. Xavier whittled sticks for marshmallows, his knife flashing precise in the firelight, while Malachi spun tales of his abuela's brujeria, curses lifted with sage and secrets whispered to the stars. I sat cross-legged on a driftwood log, the warmth seeping into my bones, but my mind raced. This us here, unscripted, felt like a preview of freedom, a world where labels dissolved like sugar in the heat. Then Xavier handed me a marshmallow, our fingers lingering, and the air thickened. "Remember that time in the dorms?" he said softly, just for me, the fire popping between us. "You read that Whitman poem aloud, the one about the body electric? Gave me chills." I flushed, the memory sharp. A rainy sophomore night, Malachi out cold from a party, Xavier and I huddled under blankets with leaves of grass. I'd stumbled through the verses, voice cracking on, "I sing the body electric." The words too intimate, too revealing. He'd listened, rapped, then quoted back a line about comrades, his hand on my knee for balance, or so we'd said. "Yeah," I whispered, pulse sinking with the waves below. "Felt like you got it. Really got it." Malachi, roasting his own skewer, went still. What? Am I invisible over here? Spill, you too. What's this poetry circle jerk I'm missing? Xavier laughed it off, easy as breathing. Just guy talk, Reyes. Leaves room for your ego. But Malachi's eyes narrowed, that predatory glint surfacing. Guy talk, right? He bit into his marshmallow, gooey strings snapping, and the moment fractured. We camped under a canopy of stars, the fire reduced to embers by midnight. I lay awake in my sleeping bag, the nylon whispering against the sand, listening to their breaths. Xavier's steady beside me, Malachi's restless farther off. The phrase from the locker room echoed. He didn't look away. What if I hadn't either? What if this pull, this gravity between us three, was the real game changer? Dawn broke cold and clear, gulls wheeling overhead as we packed up. On the drive back, silence settled like frost. Malachi fiddled with the radio, landing on a mariachi station, the trumpets mournful against the highway drone. You know, he said abruptly, back in the Bronx we had this saying, El amor es ciego, pero los vecinos no. Love's blind, but the neighbors ain't. Xavier gripped the wheel. Deep, man. What's that supposed to mean? Malachi met my eyes in the mirror, his smile tight. Means secrets got a way of spilling out, no matter how careful you are. The words landed like a blindside hit, knocking the wind from me. Did he know? Suspect? Or was it just his way, probing the soft spots? I stared out at the passing semis, the weight of unspoken truths pressing down. Back in Rogers Park, as we unloaded the Jeep under the L's rumble, Xavier clapped my back. Good trip, Alex. Needed that. Yeah, I echoed, forcing normalcy. But as Malachi lingered on the stoop, lighting a cigarette with deliberate calm, I caught the undercurrent. A rift widening, invisible but inevitable. Holiday break loomed, a 2-week exile to our respective homes. Xavier to his folks' sprawling ranch in the Central Valley, sun-ripened grapes and easy affluence. Malachi to the Bronx's holiday chaos, fire escapes strung with lights. Me to Gary's gray hush, Mom's forced cheer masking the bills piling up. We exchanged numbers scribbled on napkins, promises of texts and calls. But the apartment felt cavernous without them, echoes mocking the space we'd carved. My first night back, the house creaked under a fresh snow, Dad's old recliner empty by the TV. Mom hugged me tight in the kitchen, her apron dusted with flour from pie crusts. Missed you, Mijo? She said, her accent thick with fatigue. Tell me about school. Any girls? The lie came automatic. Plenty fish in the sea, Ma. But as I lay in my boyhood bed, posters of Jordan and Unitas peeling at the edges, I pulled out my phone. Xavier's text glowed. Dunes were magic. You? Heart emoji, innocent enough. I typed back. Same. Counting days. Then, impulsively, forwarded a photo of the snow-glazed mill ruins. My kingdom for a beach. Malachi's reply pinged seconds later. Careful what you wish for, Prince. Some kingdoms eat their kings. No emoji. Just that. The message chilled me deeper than the draft through the window. What did he see that I couldn't? Or worse, what did he know? Little did I know, across the miles, threads were unraveling, pulling us toward a collision none of us could dodge. January thawed into a slushy mess, the campus buzzing with post-break reintegration. New tattoos peeking from sleeves, tales of family blowouts swapped like currency. Practice resumed with a vengeance, Coach Barkley barking orders like a drill sergeant on steroids, his face redder than the Wildcats' helmets. Rivera. Haile. Move like you mean it. But my focus splintered, snagged on the ghosts of the dunes, on Xavier's lingering touches and Malachi's cryptic barbs. We fell back into orbit, the three of us, but fissures showed. Dinners at the Ethiopian spot on Clark Street turned tense, silences stretching as Malachi dissected the latest campus scandal. A frat boy outed in a leaked video, his life imploding in viral shards. See? That's the machine at work, he'd say, fork stabbing injera like an accusation. Grinds us down if we don't fight back. Xavier would nod, thoughtful, but his eyes sought mine across the table, a private Morse code in the dim lamplight. Fight smart, though. Not everyone's ready for the ring. I'd chime in, mediating, my voice the steady bass line to their duet, but inside turmoil churned. Nights alone, I'd pore over Xavier's sketches he'd left behind. A notebook filled with half-formed faces, one unmistakably me, captured mid-laugh, eyes crinkled with unguarded joy. The intimacy terrified and thrilled, a siren's call to the parts of myself I'd locked away. One evening, after a film session running late, Xavier cornered me in the hallway outside the AV room. The building hummed empty, fluorescent strips flickering overhead. "Walk with me?" he asked, breath minty from gum, his hoodie zipped against the draft. We wandered to the lake, the path crunching underfoot, buoys bobbing like forgotten ornaments in the dark water. Moonlight silvered the waves, turning the world ethereal. "Missed this," he said, hands shoved deep in pockets. "The quiet. You." My heart stuttered. Yeah, break was heavy. He stopped, turning to face the water, shoulders hunched. "Mine too. Dad's on about law school again, like football's just a phase. Mom's fine, baking her pies, pretending everything's golden." A pause. Heavy. "But I kept thinking about you. That poem. The dunes." I stepped closer, the space between us electric. "Zav." He turned, eyes searching mine, vulnerability raw. "Alex, That day in the locker room, I couldn't look away because, God, this is harder than any hit I've taken." His voice broke, a quarterback calling an audible in the clutch. "I like you, more than a friend. Have for months, maybe longer." The confession hung, a grenade with the pin pulled. Time fractured, the wind off the lake, the distant horn of a barge, all fading to white noise. I wanted to surge forward, claim his mouth, erase the distance with touch. But fear clamped down, the echo of Gary's whispers, the weight of eyes that judged. Words failed, tangled in throat. "Xavier, I feel it too. Shit, I have since. Forever, maybe. But what if?" He closed the gap, forehead to mine, breath mingling warm. "Then we figure it out. Together." Our lips met tentative, then fierce. A dam breaking after drought. Salt and sweetness, his hands framing my face, mine fisting his hoodie. The world narrowed to this. Us, kissing under indifferent stars, the lake whispering approval. It was revelation, terror, home. We pulled apart gasping, foreheads pressed, grins breaking like dawn. "Okay," I whispered. "Together." But secrets are slippery, and Malachi was always the one with the sharpest grip. The next week unfolded in stolen bliss, brushed hands in the weight room, coded texts, meet at the pier. Nights tangled in whispered plans on my bunk while Malachi studied in the library. We kept it from the team. From him, a fragile bubble we guarded fiercely. Xavier bloomed, his sketches turning vibrant, colors bleeding into the margins. Sunsets over the dunes, our initials intertwined in vines. Malachi noticed, of course. His barbs sharpened. "You two got a secret handshake now? Or just sharing beauty tips?" Laughter followed, but his eyes lingered, probing. One night, post-win against Iowa, our first of the season, he dragged us to a dive bar in Andersonville, rainbow flags fluttering in the breeze like defiant prayers. "Loosen up, lovebirds." He teased over shots of Malort, the wormwood bite matching his grin. The bar pulsed with queer energy. Drag queens lip-syncing Gaga, couples swaying slow to Adele. For the first time, I let myself breathe it in, Xavier's knee against mine under the table at anchor. But Malachi drank deeper, his stories turning maudlin. "Remember sophomore year? That party at the house on Foster? You two ditched me for game film," air quotes sharp. "Left me dancing solo with that philosophy TA who ghosted me."
Xavier Shifta.
"We apologized, man. Come on." Malachi's laugh was hollow. "Yeah, apologies." He flagged the bartender, eyes glassy. "To old wounds, then. And new ones waiting." The toast clinked uneasy, the night souring. Outside, in the alley reeking of garbage and regret, Malachi lit up, exhaling smoke like a dragon. Be careful, Alex, he said, voice low, just for me. Xavier's got that golden boy shine, but even gold tarnishes. I bristled. What's that supposed to mean? He flicked ash, eyes shadowed. I've seen his type. Charming till it's real. Then poof. A shrug, but pain flickered. Don't say I didn't warn you. The seed planted, doubt's first sprout. I brushed it off, but it took root. Spring training intensified. The air warming with promise. Cherry blossoms dusting the quad like confetti. Xavier and I carved moments. A quick kiss in the stacks of Deering Library. His hand in mine during a midnight screening of Brokeback Mountain at the Student Union. The tragedy hitting too close, tears silent on our cheeks. Not us, he murmured, thumb wiping mine away. Promise. Malachi withdrew, his fire dimming to embers. He skipped team barbecues, buried in thesis drafts on queer theory in American Lit. When we cornered him at a coffee shop on Noise, steam curling from mugs, he deflected. Just busy, Rhea style. Revolution don't right itself. But his eyes, when they met mine, held accusation. Heard you two are official now. Congrats. Fixed that blind spot. Xavier tensed beside me. How? Malachi waved it off. Walls have ears, Hale. Or in your case, unlocked doors. Bitterness edged his tone. A veil lifting. The confrontation simmered, unspoken, until the Scout Showcase. A high-stakes exhibition against Notre Dame. Pro eyes in the stands. Adrenaline surged. The field a coliseum under floodlights. I ran routes like lightning, Xavier covering like a shadow, our synergy electric. Post-game, in the euphoria of a narrow win, we celebrated in the parking lot, champagne spraying from stolen bottles. Malachi pulled me aside by the chain-link fence, the roar fading behind. Alex, listen. I need to tell you something. His face was ashen, hands trembling. It's about Xavier. Before the dunes. We hooked up. Once. At that party on Foster. Thought it was nothing, but he said things. About you. How he couldn't stop thinking. Even then. The world tilted. Betrayal's knife twisting slow. What? Malachi's eyes pleaded.
I'm sorry.
I didn't know it would. Care about you, man. More than you think. Just didn't want you blind. Rage and grief collided. A storm front. I shoved past him, storming to the Jeep where Xavier waited. Oblivious. Drive? I snarled, sliding in. The ride home was silence, thick as tar. At the apartment, it erupted. Malachi told me. I spat, slamming the door. About you two. The party. Xavier paled, keys clattering to the floor. Alex, it was nothing, a drunk mistake. Before us. I swear. Before us? How long have you been playing both sides? Hurt-laced venom, years of guarded heart cracking open. He reached for me, desperate. No sides. Just scared. Like you. But it's you, Alex. Always has been. The lie or truth? Hung, but doubt poisoned it. I stormed out into the night, streets blurring through tears, the L rattling overhead like judgment. Betrayal's bitter fruit, and the harvest was just beginning. The fallout cascaded like dominoes in a gale. The apartment a minefield of averted eyes and slammed doors. I crashed on Malachi's couch that night, the lumpy springs digging into my back like accusations. He brewed coffee at dawn, black and scalding, handing me a mug with hands that shook. I fucked up, he said, voice gravel. Should have buried it. But seeing you two, it ate at me. I sipped, the burn matching the one in my chest. Why tell me now? Revenge? Or something else? Malachi sank onto the armrest, elbows on knees, head bowed. Jealousy, maybe. Stupid, selfish shit. Xavier's got that ease, that light you chase. Me? I'm the storm cloud, always raining on the parade. His laugh was self-lacerating. And yeah, I feel it too. For you. Have since that first poetry slam, when you clapped like I hung the moon. The admission landed soft, a counterpoint to the chaos. Malachi, with his fierce loyalty and hidden fractures. The brother I'd chosen, now confessing a deeper claim. Pity stirred. mingling with exhaustion. "We're a mess, Reyes." He nodded, eyes wet. "Best kind. But fix it with him. Or don't. Just don't let it break you." I returned to the apartment by noon, the place reeking of stale takeout and regret. Xavier was pacing the living room, phone clutched like a talisman. "Alex, thank God." He crossed the room in a blur, pulling me into a hug I didn't resist. "I should have told you. That night. It was rebound from a bad call home. Meaningless. You're everything." We talked raw, unraveling hours on the floor amid scattered laundry, voices hoarse by dusk. Forgiveness flickered, tentative as a pilot light. But trust? That was shattered glass, sharp underfoot. "We take it slow," I said finally, his head on my shoulder. "No more secrets." "Swear it," he murmured, fingers tracing mine. Spring semester deepened, the campus greening with defiant life. Tulips pushing through mulch, frisbee games on the lawn. Football tapered to off-season drills, leaving space for the real work. Us. Dates disguised as hangs. Picnics at the Botanic Garden in Glencoe, where Xavier sketched me amid peonies, petals soft against my cheek. Drives to the Adler, losing hours in planetarium stars that mirrored our fragile orbit. Malachi mended fences, his presence a buffer, his humor the glue. We three resumed rituals. Taco Tuesdays, movie marathons with Rocky for irony, but undercurrents swirled. I'd catch him watching Xavier with hooded eyes, or Xavier tensing at Malachi's casual touches on my arm. Jealousy, a green-eyed serpent, coiled in the corners. Then came the draft combine invite, a golden ticket to Indianapolis, pro dreams within grasp. Xavier and I prepped like fiends, dawn workouts in the empty stadium, breaths sinking in the chill. "This is it," he'd say, spotting my bench presses, sweat beading on his brow. "Our shot." But doubt gnawed. Scouts whispered about my speed but no burst, Xavier's instincts but injury history. Pressure mounted, a vice. Malachi, sidelined by a torn ACL from pickup ball, became our cheerleader/therapist, dissecting plays over beers at the keg. "You're both stars," he'd insist, but his optimism rang forced, shadows under his eyes from all-nighters. One night in April, rain lashing the windows like judgment, Xavier vanished after practice. Texts unanswered, calls to voicemail. Panic-clawed visions of car wrecks on the Dan Ryan, or worse, cold feet from the combine looming. Malachi and I scoured the usual haunts. The pier, the bar, even the dunes on a desperate whim. We found him at 2 a.m. in a Wicker Park jazz club, the Blue Note Lounge, nursing whiskey at a corner table. Smoke curled lazy from his cigarette, defiance of the no-smoking sign. His sketchbook opened to a savage rendering. Me, fragmented, shards of face raining down like broken mirrors. Malachi hung back at the bar, ordering sodas, while I slid into the booth. "Running." The word came out accusatory, hurt sharpening to blade. Xavier stubbed the cig, eyes bloodshot. "Hiding." Dad called. "Says if I don't make the league, I'm cut off. No more fairy tales." He laughed bitter. And then, what if they find out? What if it tanks everything? The fear mirrored mine, the Midwestern marrow-deep dread of exposure. Then we fight it. Like Mal said, smart. He reached across, hand covering mine. "Malachi again. He's always the wise one, huh?" The edge in his tone, jealousy, resentment, stung. "He's our friend. That's all."
Xavier Gaza Ardanat.
Is it? Those looks he gives you, the way he touches you, like he's marking territory. I pulled back, heat rising. "You're paranoid. Or projecting." Silence stretched, the saxophonist's wail underscoring the rift. Malachi approached then, sliding glasses our way. "Truce?" he offered, but tension crackled. The combine arrived sweltering, Lucas Oil Stadium a cauldron of ambition. Suits prowled the sidelines, stopwatches ticking like doomsdays. I clocked a 4.5240, solid, not spectacular, while Xavier dominated drills, his coverage poetry in motion. Whispers followed. "Rivera's got heart, but Hale's the steel." Nights in our hotel, we'd debrief, Bodies spent but minds racing, collapsing into urgent kisses that chased away the what-ifs. Love you, he'd whisper. First time spoken aloud. The words of vow in the dark. Back in Chicago, Buzz built, mock drafts slotting Xavier mid-round. Me undrafted free agent. Malachi threw a pre-draft rager at the apartment. Rainbow balloons bobbing ironic against the brick. Beers flowed, music thumped. Bad Bunny for Mal, country for me, indie for Xavier. But midway, as toasts rang, my phone buzzed. An email from an agent. Preliminary interest. Keep it clean. Clean. The word mocked. I stepped out for air, the fire escape slick with drizzle. Malachi followed, lighting up. Proud of you, hermano. Thanks. Pause. You okay? Been quiet. He exhaled slow, smoke veiling his face. Got a job offer. Nonprofit in New York. Queer youth outreach. Starting June. Elation ward with loss. That's huge. Bronx king to Big Apple savior. He chuckled, but eyes glistened. Means leaving. You too. This. A beat. Promise you'll call? Even when you're NFL famous. Swear. Our hug lingered. Brotherly but laced with the unsaid. His feelings. A road untraveled. Inside, the party peaked. But Xavier pulled me aside in the kitchen. Face ashen. Saw you two out there. Looked. Intense. Not this again. Frustration boiled. He's leaving, Zev. Let it go. His jaw clenched. Just. I love you too much to lose you. The words should have soothed, but they landed like chains. May bloomed treacherous. Final exams a blur. The draft lottery televised like a Coliseum bloodsport. We watched at a sports bar in Lincoln Park. The crowd a roar of jerseys and hope. Xavier's name flashed round 3. Packers. Green Bay's frozen tundra. A world away. Cheers erupted. Backslaps raining. But my heart sank. Wisconsin, I muttered. Cheese and distance. He hugged me fierce. Weekend flights. It'll work. My name? Crickets. Undrafted. The bars din muffled. Rejection sting sharp as glass. Malachi bought shots, Xavier's arm around me solid. Free agent, baby. Means options. But options felt like scraps. That night, alone in the apartment. Malachi packing boxes, Xavier celebrating with his agent. I spiraled. Text to mom. It'll be okay. Lies. Dawn found me on the roof. City sprawl mocking my smallness. Xavier climbed up, coffee in hand. Hey, we got this. I broke then, tears hot. What if I don't? What if I'm just not enough? He knelt, cupping my face. You are. To me. Always. Our kiss was salt-sweet, desperate. But as sirens wailed below, a premonition stirred. Love's not a shield against the storm. The betrayal I'd feared? It wore a familiar face, and it was circling closer. Summer scorched Chicago. The air a humid fist, asphalt shimmering like mirage. Xavier jetted to Green Bay for rookie minicamp, his absence a hollow in the apartment. His sketches taped to walls like talismans, his cologne fading from pillows. Malachi's boxes lined the hall, a countdown to his Greyhound at Union Station. Me, auditioning for CFL tryouts in Montreal. A Hail Mary across the border. Mom's voice on calls a buoy. Proud no matter me, Joe. Video calls bridged miles. Xavier's face pixelated in hotel rooms, recounting drills with boyish glee. Malachi's from his sister's couch, regaling Bronx reunions with wry tales. New York's got nothing on your bad cooking, Alex. He'd quip, easing the ache. But cracks spiderwebbed. Xavier's texts grew sporadic, excuses piling, coaches riding hard, late-night calls cut short by curfews. Miss you, I'd say, and he'd echo, but fatigue dulled the warmth. Malachi noticed during his last visit, crashing for a weekend send-off. We grilled brats on the fire escape, the L rattling past like applause. He's drifting, Mal said, flipping meat with tongs. Packers life, groupies, glory. Happens. Shut up, I snapped, but doubt echoed. He set the tongs down, eyes steady. Just saying. Guard your heart. His train left at dawn, Hug fierce on the platform. New York, Chicago, distance is bullshit. We're forever. Tears pricked as the doors hissed shut. His wave fading into motion. August brought tryouts. Montreal's Olympic Stadium, turf unyielding under cleats. I ran routes till lungs burned, coaches barking French-inflected English. A nod, practice squad invite. Elation surged. I called Xavier first. CFL, baby, ALS for life. Static crackled. That's huge, Alex. Proud. But background noise, laughter, music, drowned sincerity. Gotta go, team dinner. The disconnect clicked cold. Fall semester loomed, but I deferred, chasing the dream north. Winters in Quebec were brutal, blizzards blanking the St. Lawrence, but the team bonded like brothers. Hazing rituals and saunas, poutine feasts post-win. Xavier visited once, Thanksgiving, the city dusted sugar white. We wandered Viewport, scarves muffling breaths, his hand in my glove a secret warmth. It's temporary, he said. Over fondue at a bistro, flames dancing in his eyes. Next year, maybe trade. Closer. I nodded, but the miles gnawed. His games on TV, cheers for the wrong purple, my highlights buried in box scores. Christmas pulled me south. Gary's snow a slushy welcome. Mom's tamales steamed the kitchen, Dad's ghost in every ornament. Xavier FaceTimed from a family gala, tux crisp, tree twinkling behind. Wish I was there, he said, but distractions pinged. Texts from teammates. Malachi's call came New Year's, fireworks popping over the Bronx. Heard about the ALS. Baller move. Pause. How's the heart? Beating. I lied. Spring thawed. My rookie season a grind. Spot starts. Fumbles forgiven in the locker room's rough affection. Xavier's star rose. Starter by mid-season, ESPN darlings dubbing him Hale's Hammer. Interviews polished, mentions of family vague, our texts thinning to emojis. Then May draft anniversary. A package arrived at my Montreal sublet. Xavier's sketchbook, pages filled with new faces, faceless teammates, stadium sketches, one of a man in shadow, back turned. Tucked inside, a note, evolving, need space, sorry. The words blurred through tears, betrayal's second strike. Not Malachi's ghost, but the man I'd bet on. I flew to Chicago unannounced, the city blooming indifferent. His old apartment, sublet to strangers. A mutual friend spilled, he's in LA now, trade rumors, and seeing someone, publicist type. Rage propelled me west, red-eye to LAX, palm trees mocking the frost in my veins. Green Bay to LA, Glory's Arc, my exile. I tracked him to a WeHo bar, the Viper Room, neon pulsing like a wound. Inside, bass thrummed, bodies swaying in rainbow haze. He was at a high top, laughing with a blonde lean, LA groomed, hand on Xavier's knee. My entrance parted the crowd like Moses, heart thundering. Alex!
Xavier Starlat, chair scrapping.
The blonde vanished tactful. Space, huh? I hurled the sketchbook, pages fluttering like wounded birds. Evolving into what? This? He stood, face crumpling. It's not, wait, please. Outside, in the alley. Rain slicked, dumpsters reeking. The confrontation ignited. Neon flickered, open 24/7. A cruel joke. How long? I demanded, rain mingling with tears. Months, after the trade talks. Pressure. I panicked. His voice broke. You're my anchor. But the spotlight. Spotlight. I laughed hollow. I gave everything. For us. He reached, hand hovering. I know. I fucked up. Royally. But I love. Don't. The word shattered. Malachi's warning echoed. Even gold tarnishes. Xavier sagged against brick, rain carving rivers down his face. What now? I stepped back, the gulf vast. You choose. The game or me. Silence stretched, thunder rumbling distant. I can't lose football. Not yet. The choice gutted, but clarity bloomed. Humanistic, Hard one. Love isn't possession. It's release. I turned, walking into the downpour, city lights blurring to stars. Behind, his sob raw alone. Back in Montreal, the season blurred, winds hollow, but growth seeded. Malachi visited summer, his New York edge softened by success, youth center thriving. Over poutine on Mont Royal, he listened to the unraveling, no judgment. You deserve epic, he said, clinking bottles. Not scraps. Fall brought a call. Xavier, voice wrecked. Traded back bears. Chicago. Can we talk? I met him at the dunes. Full circle. Waves crashing indifferent. Sand shifting underfoot. He looked smaller, humbled, sketches in hand. Us whole now. I'm sorry, he started. Therapy time. Realized I was running from me. From us. I studied him, heart scarred but open. Took guts to call. Forgive. Hope tentative. Not yet, but maybe. Friends first. He nodded, tears brimming. Whatever it takes. As sunset bled gold, Malachi texted. Sun's out. Beach? I smiled, circles widening but not breaking. Life's no fairy tale, but in the grit, betrayals weathered, loves reforged. We find the poetry. American as apple pie and hard knocks. Resilient, raw, redeemed. In the end, we chose ourselves first. And that's the real win.